Sana Gogo.
How's Sabana Sanele?
Hello Gogo.
Jumela Marang, hello Mvugo.
Hello Gogo. Got some cold juice. Yeah. Guys, my ice juice just melted and I was looking forward to drink it.
Well, ice melts quickly when it's not in the fridge.
Temperature affects how liquid freezes or melts.
Plus, if you keep ice in a bag, it'll melt quickly because of the hot temperature in the bag, unlike the cold temperature in the fridge.
Mara, apparently, and I was really looking forward to it because it was nice and cold. Because me, angithandi juice eshisayisha.
Well, ice does melt quicker if it's in hot temperature or in water. I wish there was another way to keep ice longer though, especially when it's hot.
Okay guys, there are a few tips or tricks you can do to help keep your ice from disappearing quickly. The first idea is to keep your ice in a cooler and make sure that the lid of the cooler is completely closed and tight when you don't use it. Because when warm air gets into the cooler, then your ice will melt. So make sure that your ice doesn't melt by getting the warm air in the cooler. Tip number 2 is keep your cooler in a shade away from direct sunlight. And remember that you will always have to move it during the day, but your effort will help you because then the ice won't melt quickly and your beverages in the cooler will remain colder for longer. The third tip is cover the cooler with a wet cloth, preferably white, and make sure that you keep that cloth damp right through the day. Another tip is when you clean out your cooler and you pour the water out of the cooler, make sure that you keep 2 inches, which is 5 centimeters of water at the bottom of the cooler. That will help your beverages to last longer being cold and your ice to also keep longer.
Okay, Gogo. But mina ngithenge i-cooler box engaka for i-juice encane kaso.
Isanele, kunamakhula amancane that are made for 1 bottle of juice like that one. You can ask Mama ukuthi akuthengele.
Okay.
Wow, Gogo, that is great. Didn't get leka.
Jira jalo ngwanaka.
Sanele, ninga share namadhi or even ice to make your juice last longer.
Mvuko is right.
We learned about the change of state of water at school, so I do know a bit about it, but I still want to learn more.
About this topic. Who can tell me what is a change of state?
Mina Gogo mina ngiyazi.
This topic re bue ka yona today.
Yo, that sounds great, Gogo.
Let's head to the wonder room. Be careful, ne? Door to everything and everywhere. Open up and take us there. So guys, today we are going to learn more about changes of matter. I can really bring video
Solids. Who can tell me what are solids? The way you understand it, just tell me what are solids. Do you want to try, Chicos? Yes. Oh, you are giving me an example. I want you to tell me what are solids. Okay, explain the word solid. You want to explain? Yes, Naledi? Oh, are hard. He's saying things that are hard. Let me explain that. In solids, we say particles. Particles are closely packed. They are closely packed. I'll show you. Solids are those particles that are closely packed. They are like this. They are like this, closely packed. If I make a drawing, you'll see. This is a drawing of things that are closely packed. Solids. They are closely packed. Those ones that are not closely packed, we call them liquids. You'll see spaces in between. That means ne. Now the example, the drawing. Our liquids are like this. We draw them in this fashion to explain what I'm talking about. Ne? Solids are particles that are packed closely to each other. Now, what about gases? What about gases? Yes, my boy. So they are packed far apart from each other. They are far apart from each other. Okay? Now, the simplest example that you can observe is this. The steam that is coming out from this. This is gas. Okay? You see the gas coming out of the water. Yeah, this water is being boiled. Okay? And then when you boil it, then you'll see the steam coming out. It shows that now our water is in a gas form. The water inside is in the gas form. But this water, this is still water again. Again, this is still water. This is not water. Is this water or not? What do you call this? Ice. What is ice? What is ice? Don't give me that. What is ice? What is ice? Yeah? Yes, ice is water. This is another form of water. Which is what? This form of water is what? Yes? It's solid. This water is solid. You can see I can even carry it with my fingers. It is solid. Okay? The particles here are close to each other. It means dikopani khuso. Close to each other. Laibon. Waibon. Now, what do we call this kind of water? What do we call this kind of water? Yes, Mashiro?
Liquid.
That is liquid. This kind of water. Waibon. Yeah? Liquid. You put it in the freezer. It's going to ice, and then it's going to come up in this fashion. Do you see this? I can light it by ice. Everyone knows an ice cube. Again, what do you call this? An ice cube. Listen to this. Liquids. In liquids, the particles are closely packed but further apart than in solids. They are further packed than in solids. Again, Mona, they are closely packed. I can light one. In liquids, we say the particles are closely packed but further apart than in liquids. Look, further apart. Can you see that? Yes. But in solids, they are closely packed. These are far apart. Again, all right. Now in gases, let's read this sentence. In gases, the particles are very far apart from each other.
Do you know what water, air, and rocks have in common? They are made of matter. Matter is something that takes up space. Now you might be wondering why they all look so different if they are made of the same thing. But the truth is that everything around you is made of matter, just in different shapes and forms. Matter is made of tiny particles called atoms. Matter can be grouped into three main states: solid, liquid, or gas. To figure out which state of matter something is in, we need to examine its properties. A property is the way that something is that we can measure. The physical properties we will look at to determine state of matter are shape, mass, and volume. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Volume is how much space that matter takes up. Solids are easy to recognize. Rocks, apples, pencils, and plants are examples of solid objects. A solid object has a definite shape that doesn't change when you move it or put it in a container. They also have consistent mass and volume. This is because the atoms in a solid object are packed closely together so they don't move around. A solid would change shape only if forced. For instance, if it is broken or smashed. If you look around, you can find many examples of solid objects. Liquids have a definite volume and mass, but they do not have a definitive shape. The atoms in liquid are still close together, but unlike the atoms in a solid, they can move around. This allows the matter in a liquid to flow. Because liquids don't have their own shape, they take the shape of their containers. The same amount of liquid may look very different in a glass and spilt on the floor. You can find examples of liquids around you too. Water, milk, and juice are just some of the liquids you might find. The third state of matter is gas. Gases have a definite mass, but they do not have a definite shape or volume. Unlike liquids, gases will spread out to completely fill the container they are in. If a gas is not in a container, it will keep spreading out indefinitely. This is because the atoms in a gas are further apart than the atoms in a solid or liquid, and so they can move freely. The air you breathe is an example of a gas. You might notice that you cannot really see air. Often gases are invisible, but they are still there. There are many different types of gases in the Earth's atmosphere, like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, helium, and water vapor. Sometimes matter can change from one state to another. Water is a very good example of this. When water is frozen into ice, it is solid. When it melts back into water, it is a liquid. When water evaporates into water vapor, it becomes a gas. Matter in all its states is everywhere. See if you can find solids, liquids, and gases around you.
Wow, Gogo, that was so insightful. I didn't think that all the changes could happen in the states of matter.
And I also didn't know that a gas could turn into a solid so easily.
I'm glad that every one of you understands a little bit about changes of matter.
Gogo, pele re tsamaya, ke kopa o nthuse ka sengwe. Ke na le mata ko sekolong and she's always persuading me to do bad things. And I ke batla gore he ka gore bana ba bang ba tlo go ntshega.
My darling Marang, you have the right to say no or yes, how batla seng. And you don't have to care about anybody else. Ga ile gore go na le selo so sa batleng go se dira, you still have the right to say no and don't do it.
Yo, Gogo, mina benginomngane ofana njengaye, and I stopped hanging out with her because she was a bad influence to me.
There are other kids that go into peer pressure because they want to be liked and they want to belong, and abanye ke bafuna ukuthi bangene because they feel ukuthi their friends will laugh at them when they are not part of the group. Bunabanye, they do things because they see that friends are doing it and they also want to be exploring and doing something new. And then there is, if everyone does it, let me also do it. And then those kind of kids, they take their good judgment and their common sense and they put it aside. Yes. So remember, there'll always be nice friends that will influence you positively and bad friends that will influence you negatively. But always remember that it is your right to choose your friends and to make a decision for yourself and not anybody else.
And must not let anything or anyone cloud our judgment.
That's right. Well, we live and we learn. So let's go and do our experiment based on everything we've learned today. Are we ready?
Yes, Gogo.
Let's go.
Kanti Coco senzani?
Nendad Diva, we're going to pour water in an ice tray and put it in the freezer, and that's our experiment.
Do you see any ice tray here? Hamvuko. That is so easy. We can do that with our eyes closed. Okay, guys. Today we are going to make our own jelly. Yes, that is such an easy activity to do, and we do it every day at home, right? Okay. We are going to see how water or liquid turns into a solid in a very short space of time. Here we have a jelly powder.
Okay.
We have a spoon. We have a bowl and another bowl. And we have a glass of hot water. Don't burn yourself. And a glass of cold water. That we shall deal with later.
Okay.
For now, we are going to open this pack. Who wants to open it?
Can I open it, Coco?
You can open it. Pour it into the bowl.
I'm struggling.
Let's see. How we can get out. There we go. And then we pour a glass of hot water. Don't burn yourself. Be careful. Be careful. And then we pour a glass of cold water.
Okay.
Right. And then you can take the spoon and begin to stir slowly for a minute. We must dissolve the jelly powder.
Okay.
It's a nice color. Yeah. It's like guava.
It does.
It does. What if it's guava flavor?
Of course, it might be, and it's nice. Remember, with jellies, you can have so many flavors. Pineapple, watermelon, apple. Okay.
It's almost there.
Almost there.
Coco, the powder's not all at the bottom anymore.
That's good. It has dissolved. Okay. Now, put the spoon here. Let's pour it into this bowl, and then we are going to put it in the fridge. Good. Okay, Mvuko, we are going to put it in the fridge and we are going to wait for it to set in a few minutes. Remember, we don't want it to freeze, right? Remember to put it in the deep freezer, not in the fridge. Good.
Coco,
Yes.
this is one of the easiest meals that we have ever made. Next time, can you please make a more complex, more challenging meal so we can have some fun?
This a cooking program, Lana. How does water turn into a solid in a few minutes, Mr. Chef?
Oh, I understand, Coco.
Okay, guys, I had already made one jelly for us earlier on. All right, here we go. Friends, I hope you enjoyed making jelly with us and turning liquid into a solid. Until we meet again next time, remember to send us your experiments to Epic Hangout at sabc.co.za. Go fitlhela re bonanang gape at the same place, the same time. Goodbye. We love you. Bye. And tell me, how does it taste like, ne? So jelly. Who said it's not solid? Eh? Who said it's not solid? Can you see? Can you see? Can you see? Look at it. Can you see? Can you see? It wobbles. Can you see? Okay. Start eating, guys. Start eating. I refill when you need to feel. I refill. It's really good.